Welcome to the MetPro Method podcast. I am your host, Crystal O'Keefe. Today, I'm joined by the founder of MetPro, Angelo Poli, and we will be discussing exactly what MetPro is all about. Angelo, thank you so much for joining me today.
That's great to be here, Crystal.
So I want to start with, what exactly is MetPro?
Well, I'll start from the beginning. Some might be surprised to find MetPro is really sports nutrition, a periodized sports nutrition cycling approach. It was originally developed for high-performing athletes. It just so happens that the same science that helps athletes perform their best, helps athletes fuel for higher levels of athletic performance, can also be tuned for weight loss, which of course we know 85 to 90% of people coming through our program for coaching, that's their primary goal. And so it's actually sports periodization.
Well, that's a very simple way to do it. So how is MetPro different than other plans that are out there?
MetPro is very different. MetPro is not a diet plan. So most people, when they think of a diet, especially when you're thinking of weight loss, we're thinking of a diet. Okay, you're going to eat this for breakfast, that for lunch. And if you are working with one of our coaches, you will definitely be put on a meal plan. But there's really nothing special about any meal plan. Nobody owns a meal plan. Nobody owns those foods. And every meal plan out there has already been tried, thought about, worked and reworked. What we do at MetPro is evaluate someone's metabolism against a baseline of intake. With that foundation, what it allows us to do is get hyper specific with what a person needs for next steps, whether it be weight loss, athletic performance. And it does. It takes a little bit of effort and a little bit more specificity than your run of the mill, eat less calories or avoid fried foods approach. But the payoff is worth it, especially if you want sustainable results.
Yeah. But since it is so specific and it is a little different than what people are used to, how can people know if MetPro is a good choice for them?
So let's dive into basically what the starting experience is. Our coaches are going to work very closely with an individual using diet progressions. So most people, again, when they think of a diet, they think of, my fitness pal says based on this activity and my height, weight, this is how many calories I eat. And there's the meal plan, or they read a diet book that says if you're ectomorph this, you eat this many calories. What we have found is everyone needs something different. Mm-hmm. And we don't know what that is, just like you don't know what that is, like if you're listening to this podcast, until we test and evaluate. And then we don't have to guess anymore. So what that means is we'll have diet progressions, or sports nutritionists and our dietitians. We've built out hundreds, nearly thousands of progressions. So here's what that means. Think of a progression. I'm going to oversimplify this. And think of it as you have a version 1 and a version 10. Same diet. In other words, we have progressions that are built around eating 3 simple meals a day, around eating 4 meals a day, 5 meals a day, 6 meals a day, and more. We have meal progressions that are ideal for people who prefer plant-based or plant-heavy diets. We have meal progressions that seem to work better for tricky schedules and travels. So think of all these different meal progressions as categories we've identified working with thousands of people over the years as common templates that work under certain circumstances. Now, within that template, what you have is a progression. A progression could be 8, 10, 15, even 20 progression. But to simplify, let's just say meal plan 10 is the highest. So that's your elite athlete, your Olympian, your competitive, power lifter, or CrossFitter, or endurance athlete who is, and every meal is very calorie dense, but it fits into one of the meal progression templates. Now that would be a phase 10. Now a phase 9 would be that same meal template, but just retuned to be about 4 to 6% more restrictive. And now phase 8, another 4 to 6% more restrictive, down to, phase 1 and phase 0, which is basically, you get a cup of tea. No, we don't do that. But you kind of see where we're going. Now, I'm oversimplifying when I'm saying tuned to be a little more restrictive. There's a lot of dials and levers we're pulling and optimizing there. But in essence, that's what it boils down to. And we do that because what we're trying to do is we no longer want to guess. That's for people who are trying this diet, trying that approach. It may work, it may not work. And unfortunately, the frustrating reality is sometimes even when it does work, it's hard to reproduce, or they don't know exactly what's triggering that effect. So with MetPro, metabolic profiling, we're not going to guess. So your coach is going to get to know you, put you on a starting meal plan. It's going to be somewhere in the middle. Let's say a phase 5, a phase 6. Now, some people are going to be on progressions that have a little more protein than others. Some people do a little better with a little more fat in the mornings to stabilize their blood sugar. But roughly, you're going to be on a progression that we've had thousands of other people like you test into, follow for a few days, and we've categorized their results.
Okay.
What we're going to do is have you do the same exact model. You're going to follow a simple meal plan, nothing fancy, nothing special. It will take a little bit of advanced prep, but follow a meal plan for just 2 or 3 days. 72 hours seems to be about the sweet spot. And then we're going to have analytics on you. That's going to say, okay, you lost 2 pounds. You gained 2 pounds, or you stayed the same weight, whatever the case may be. And it's no longer guessing, because we know that the meal plan you were following was split over, let's just say a progression's 5 meals a day. It's each meal has a glycemic threshold of XYZ. Each meal, we know how many calories are in those meals. We know the macronutrient breakdown. So we know exactly what you've been eating. And now we know exactly how your body's responded. So there's no more guesswork. And it's very simple at that point. Our coaches are going to look and evaluate that data and say, okay, based on this, now we're going to drop you a phase, or drop you 2 phases, or increase you a phase, or you know what? It's working perfect. Don't change a thing. The reason we work in meal progressions is because there is no diet that is perpetually going to force your body forward progressing.
Can we stay there for just a second? I feel like that's something people don't understand. So let me just dive in. You mean that if you do the same thing over and over and over again, eventually, no matter what it is, it's going to stop working. Am I hearing you?
It's going to stop working. And when I say working, your body must find homeostasis. In other words, you cannot survive in a perpetual state of weight gain or weight loss. Therefore, your body has to acclimate to your nutritional routine, whether that's eating 5 clean meals a day, or whether that's eating 1 giant bucket of fried chicken at night. Your body will acclimate to whatever you do over time, for better or for worse. And when it does acclimate, then you may still, over the course of months and years, drift in a direction, but rapid progress, you're not going to move rapidly in one direction or the other. And that's why you hear a lot of people saying, I'm doing everything, air quotes, right. Mm-hmm. Why aren't I losing weight? Well, it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's not that your diet is neither good nor bad, right nor wrong. It's that your metabolism has acclimated and gotten used to what you're eating. Therefore, something needs to change, which is why, full circle to what is MetPro, it's sports periodization. Because once your body gets used to something, we need to change it. We need to periodize that strategy so that way it's forced to get used to something different and then change again and again. And so people will tell me all the time, well, Angelo, I know, cutting carbs works or counting calories works or this, that, or the other. And you're right. All of those approaches work, but they're all going to stop working. So which lever are we going to pull? If we know what you're eating, and I don't mean every meal, every day, you're going to cheat. Trust me. People say, Angela, I'm going to follow it. I'm like, yeah, you're going to cheat. Everybody cheats. That's not the idea. The idea is that if you're working with one of my coaches, if you're working with me, we're going to have a routine in place where it's Tuesday, nothing's going on. We know what you're having for breakfast, lunch, and snacks. Now, there may be some wiggle room Saturday nights, but Tuesday, we've got that locked. That's the fun that is participating in a coaching program. So when we know what your general routine is, we don't have to guess. And what it allows us to do is determine when it's time to make an adjustment. So I'll give you a real common scenario.
Okay.
People ask, will I lose weight? Some people want to lose weight. The answer is yes. I can't guarantee that the meal plan that triggers weight loss for you, we will deem sustainable. But we will lose weight. Mm-hmm. So here's how we deal with that. Somebody starts and we identify them as a very slow metabolism. Maybe they've already been dieting. Maybe for years they've been restricting calories or cutting carbs or cutting out, not eating at certain times of the day, whatever the case may be. You've already been in a dieting scenario. If we identify that the current intake, middle range meal plan, is not triggering weight loss, we're going to quickly drop you a phase lower, and keep doing that until we lose weight. Once we observe some weight coming off, we now have a threshold of, okay, here's the line that triggers weight loss for Johnny or for Bobby or for Sue. But if we look at that and evaluate that that's too low to sustain, then we can't stay there.
Right.
We have to recondition your metabolic rate up faster. And that's where now having progressions that have many micro steps is magical. Because most people, you've heard you have to eat more to rev your metabolism, and that is a true thing. Right. But it's one of those approaches where it's like, yeah, don't try this at home, kids, because it's really easy to miss. You do have to eat more to rev your metabolism, but you really need to take a calculated approach because everybody does that. They go and, get sick of dieting. And so they have a cheeseburger and a slice of chocolate cake. And it does indeed rev their metabolism. It revs their waistline too. So,
it's a balance.
It's a balance. So nobody goes, well, let's see. I've been dieting now for 5 weeks. I hit my first plateau. I think I'm going to add, a quarter cup of green beans and a few slices of sweet potato extra. Nobody comes to that conclusion. That's not how the thought process works. And that's the beauty of having an expert there that's getting on the phone with you, walking through the analytics and saying, look, here's what I see. You're on this intake level. What I'm expecting is you to be down to this weight. I expect you to be down weight by this time. And if we're not there, here's exactly what we're going to do next. And then they're also going to be there to calm you down and explain, guess what? You haven't done anything wrong. This is your body doing what we would expect it to do as it gets used to this intake level. Here's how much we're going to increase. Here's how long we're going to increase for. And here's what you can expect when we drop you back down. And here's the secret. Weight loss and weight gain or body recomping is all about contrast. So weight loss, because I know I say weight loss, that's what most people are interested in hearing about. Weight loss is not about the right diet. There is no right diet. If so, I'd have one meal plan in my CRM, right, instead of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds for each circumstance. Weight loss is about contrast, and it happens during the amount of time it takes your metabolism to acclimate to its new environment. So let's put that into perspective. Somebody who's eating 2,500 calories a day
Okay.
will likely lose weight when they switch to eating 2,000 calories a day.
Sure.
And they will lose weight for a period of time until their metabolism acclimates to that 2,000 calorie a day intake level. And some people have what we consider a fast metabolism. That just means your body fights acclimating. It takes it longer to acclimate. And so they can lose weight with just that small adjustment for weeks, maybe even a couple months. And then other people have a more naturally slower metabolism. And guess what that means? They simply adapt faster. They can adapt to stay alive at that lower intake quicker. So that person may lose weight for 5 or 6 days and their body's like, I'm good, I'm out.
Yes.
We're there. And I know people are listening to this going, yep, that's me.
Yeah. Because it sounds, the way you just described it sounds like it's a good thing, but it's not a good thing.
Well, it's a great thing if you're on a stranded on a desert island. It's a great thing.
That's fair.
You're the survivors of the world. When you're trying to trim down, it can be very frustrating and it's not fair.
Yes.
So the key is that obviously there's no magic wand, but this process is so difficult when you're shooting in the dark and just guessing. We have to have analytics. And so that's what we do at MetPro is we're tracking all those analytics. So we know, yes, your body is going to give us some more weight loss at this intake, or no, you're likely to plateau, level off here. Here's how we're going to rev. Now, the principle isn't new. This is the same principle that bodybuilders use. I know, listen, I don't want to be a bodybuilder.
Right.
That's okay. We can still benefit from the same science. So what physique athletes will do is during the off season, their goal is to gain muscle and therefore rev their metabolism by eating more and more and more calories. So for years, I would take athletes to competition and someone would always come up to me and say, Mr. Poli, what are you doing? Your athletes look amazing. What's the secret? You know, and I'd give the tongue-in-cheek answer, you know, boiled chicken and, you know, brown rice, broccoli, or whatever, if you prefer, you know, your veggie burgers. They say, well, if I ate like them, would I look like that?
No.
Probably not. I'm just being honest, but let me explain why. The reason why the boiled chicken and the broccoli incinerated body fat off of their frame was not because of boiled chicken and broccoli.
Okay.
It was because they were used to, going back to that progression analogy, they were used to eating a phase 5, and we increased them to a phase 6 in step with their increased training. And then they were able to maintain that level without gaining weight. And then we increased them to a phase 7, to a phase 8, to a phase 9, 10. By the way, there's way more than 10 phases. But you see where we're going with this. We're able to gradually, not all at once, that's a quick way to put on body fat. Gradually, as your body tolerates it, watch your analytics, figure out when we can increase more and more and more, toe their metabolic rate up to burning, in some cases, 3,000. 4,000, even 5,000 for some of my high performing athletes, calories a day. So what do you think happens when we then cut them down to 1,900 calories of boiled chicken and broccoli?
It just melts off because they're still burning.
Contrast. There's so much contrast. And that's why it seems like it's not fair, because a lot of people calling us up saying, help me figure this out. I've tried this, I've tried that, and I'm still not losing any more weight. When I, cut out all my calories, or I cut out all my carbs, or I do this, I lose 2 pounds and then nothing. Why? It's because that person is used to eating very carefully. They're eating their 1,400 calories a day already. And then they go on a diet and now they're eating 1,200. That the contrast just isn't there. It's so marginal that the body's just like, I'm good with this. You
And
know, and yeah, I'm not impressed. So that's why we have this system of analyzing and adjusting. And the truth is, if I had to put a percentage on it, most people lose weight easily when they just get on a clean eating meal plan that's within a reasonable caloric intake, carbohydrate intake, whatever lever we're using, and carbs, calories, timing, all of it works. We use all of those tools. So we're not a one-trick pony. Our coaches are going to use whatever tool has the most leverage for that person. So, for example, if you come to us already eating very low carbs, you're going to ask us, why aren't we cutting carbs? And it's not because carb restriction doesn't work. It's because you've already used that card. There's no more contrast to be had there. We have to use another tool. That's what metabolic profiling allows us to do. So we figure out where someone's at, and just a basic clean eating protocol is usually more than enough to get someone significantly on their way to the health, the body weight, the physique, whatever the goal, the performance they want. Now we have the whole other side of the equation, and that is there's the science and there's knowing what to do, but then there's the follow through.
now there's actually doing it.
Now there's doing it. And if you were a fly on the wall listening to one of my conversations in the first week or so, maybe 2 weeks with one of my clients, I'll tell you what I would hear, what you would hear. Here I'm on the phone with the client. Here's what you're going to hear.
Okay.
Oh, you lost weight. Yes, good. Did you prepare your meals? Did you get into a routine? Did you get the things dialed in like we taught? Yes, I know you lost weight. I don't care. Did you get into routine? I don't care if you lose 2 pounds, gain 2 pounds. What I care about is the routine. I've done this long enough to know that if I'm going to be able to impact a change that is meaningful and persists after 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, it's all going to anchor to establishing a routine. And that's what we're going to focus on first. Then I have all my knobs and dials to make sure that your diet's where it's supposed to be. And of course, your training, that all factors in to make sure your exercise, we're not wasting time with the wrong type of exercise. Making it all work together like a finely tuned machine, but we have to have that routine in place. And that's why time management, time-saving tools, food prep, cooking in bulk macros, and doing it in a way that's quick and easy for you, that's the key. It has to be sustainable. And those are all the tools that coaches work with their clients on, because that's what's going to get someone results end game. I'll often get hired to speak at, some of these, executive retreats or whatever these groups are, where people will ask me the question, say, Angela, what's the secret? I know who you are. I know who your company works with. How do you get people to transform? And they're expecting me to tell them the best exercise and the right foods to eat. And then they're surprised when I say the secret is time management. That's what it really boils down to.
Because if you don't take the time to perfect your routine, then no matter what you're doing, you're not going to stay consistent with it.
And most people don't have a routine. So I'll get up in front of the group and I'll say, okay, how many people have a specific diet strategy that they find work for them? And about half the crowd will raise their hand, and I'll say, perfect. So this side of the room is going to do their diet strategy. That side of the room is going to eat whatever they want. Here's the catch. That side of the room has to prepare in advance everything they're eating the next day. Which side of the room you suppose is going to lose more weight?
What do they say?
It's always the food prep group, because we know if we were actually eating what we intended to, if we were actually preparing and had a routine in place, weight loss would be easy. Or weight gain, if the case may be. You want to put on muscle, you want to increase performance, whatever the case is. If you have a routine, it's so much easier. But really getting into that routine can be a challenge. Where do I start? People are shocked to find out which meals our coaches tell them to always have prepared in advance and which meals never bother preparing in advance. You don't need to. They're usually shocked to find those things out. They're usually shocked to find out which meals we say are the most important, why we snack, what types of snacks we want you to do, and how we want you to prepare those. And some things may seem a little unorthodox, but it's for self-preservation. We've done this over so many years with so many clients that we've learned that the number one reason why someone falls off or fails to see the result they were desiring is not a mathematical equation. It's not a science issue. It's not even a willpower issue. It's not even because of their love of chocolate. You know what the number one reason is?
What's that?
I got busy.
Oh.
I got too busy and ... And it never ends well. I got busy and ... So our experienced coaches, we circumvent that, and we already assume before you start day one that you're too busy and start implementing strategies, assuming that's the number one issue. And so that's where all that's where all the coaching comes in. But there's the demographic of people that really need that support to break through with strategies for just their lifestyle. And then there are people that are already in good routine. They have their breakfast, they have their lunch, they know generally, there's always exceptions, you will cheat, they know generally what they're going to eat, but they don't have the analytics and the science saying, okay, it's time to rev your metabolism. Okay, now it's time to go into a cutting cycle, and here's how long it should last. And so that's why we really want to support people on both fronts.
That makes sense. So I totally see why it's different from a typical diet plan. It's totally different from that. You're taking all of this, you're taking all this data and you're using it to help people make changes on a regular basis to be able to continually change up what they're doing so their body does not stay acclimated.
And there's one more thing.
What's that?
We have fun doing it. We have a blast. We do, because we're real people that have done this over and over again, and we work with real people. And so, you have to have a sense of humor about things. You have to understand life happens. There's going to be challenges. It's never going to be perfect. But when you have someone that's in your corner, that's supporting you, and supporting you with very specific next steps, really laying out the breadcrumb trail, not ambiguous direction. I'm presuming that eating a high sugar, high fried diet is probably not the best thing, but actual specific actionable items, it really does. It makes a difference.
It absolutely does. The support and accountability are everything, in my opinion. Well, Angelo, is there anything else that you want to share with people about what MetPro is before we go?
Tell us your story. Tell us your journey. We always invite people. We want to know. That's how we learn. We learn by hearing the story, the journey of our clients, what they've done. One of the first questions that our coaches ask our clients is, give me your diet history, your diet culture. We want to know what you've done, what the results have been. All of that stuff is going to inform our decisions and our approach with you. So if you want to know more about what a program would look like for you, you can't necessarily tap someone else doing MetPro. You can get the basics, but the program they're on may not look anything like what your coach has you do.
I mean, case in point, my husband and I are both on it, and it looks totally different for the two of us.
Indeed. I can confirm that.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Angelo. I really appreciate it.
It's been a blast. Thanks for having me, Crystal.
Of course. Listeners, that is all for this week. And you can find all of the MetPro Method episodes anywhere you get podcasts, or you can go to metpro.co/podcast. Be sure to follow the show and rate and review, because that lets other people know what they can expect. You can also learn more about MetPro at metpro.co. I'm your host, Crystal O'Keefe, and I will be back next week. Until then, remember, consistency is key.